I done had 4 or 5 different online debates with Wack 100, and it always goes right into the shouting, screaming, and shit like that. So much so to we can't even get into whether the shit he's saying is true or not, right? So what I did was I'm glad that academics gave me the opportunity to really express and break down how fake that shit was. And then when Wack came online, it was warfare.
Say, man, let's go ahead and get into it, man. Our last interview, we exposed something crucial that was proving a lot of things between Tee Grizzley and some other camps and things. But first of all, I want to say I seen you on the video with Tee Grizzley.
My nigga Dawgface done pulled up on me. Yeah. Come on now. You know what's going on, man.
How'd that come about?
I've been knowing T since before he became a star, bro. Since before the first day out joint, right? But one of my closest partners, Helliver, when they were putting that whole first day out thing together at the beginning of Tee Grizzly's superstar career, I was around. I was there. I've been knowing him a long time. So he invited me out to the concert, the last stop of his Forever My Moment tour, which is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is about 2.5 hours outside of Detroit. He invited me to that stop. I've been on several different concert stops, but that was the one that happened immediately after the whole academics and Wack 100 thing exploded. So
Did he speak about that? Did he speak about the phone call that happened between
yeah, well, we had spoke about it. We've been chopping up about it since day one of Wack 100. And since day one we have been talking about it, we strategizing about it, and
what's his standpoint on it, Tee Grizzley?
the standpoint, it's not true. So, but in the world we live in now, it don't matter if it's not true or not. If you get people pushing it, you feel what I'm saying? Wack 100, he has open access to some of the largest blogging and YouTube platforms in the country. So when he come with some shit, whether it's real or not, people are going to pick up on it and run with it because in most cases, whenever he says something about a rapper or about whoever, in most cases, those things are normally proven to be true. You feel what I'm saying? But that's not the case. That's definitely not the situation with Tee Grizzley because the shit was fake. He introduced 2 pieces of paperwork supposedly proving his point. I debunked and proved that both of those pieces of paperwork, the police investigation report, which was the first one he dropped, and then he sent academics an appeal document, an appeal motion. So uh, how the whole academics thing came about is that we knew that, and Wack 100 has since said, right, in the last couple of weeks, that he was trying to bait Tee Grizzley into a debate, into an argument, to a back and forth discourse, because he could have used that fact that he was arguing online or on YouTube or on social media with Tee Grizzley. He could use that as a way to push and promote himself, to get himself paid interviews. We knew that's what his intention was, right? All he was trying to do is just bait T. We knew going into it, after we talked and we strategized, we was never going to give him that. He's never going to get an opportunity to talk to Tee Grizzley again, except if it's a face-to-face situation, and then they're going to go how it's going to go. You hear me? But we knew that he was trying to bait T in to a conversation, to going back and forth with this bitch ass online. We wasn't never gonna let that happen. So that's why T introduced me to academics, and that's how I got on Academics show.
So the phone call with Wack, right?
hmm
Because I know you say Tee Grizzley linked it with you and Act to get on the phone.
hmm
But how did it come about to get Wack on the phone?
Well, the whole thing is that T know Act. He been doing Act for years. So T called Act, and they had been talking for a couple of days, and I had been strategizing with T behind the scenes and how we was gonna address this shit. Cause like even lies have life on social media. If you got somebody who has a name, who has some type of status, whether it's good or bad, if they pushing the pin on something so heavy, then ordinary people don't think that a person is pushing some fake shit that heavy, like Wack did. But that's Wack's character, right? Wack's character is to manufacture beef and then try to promote that beef on Clubhouse, on Instagram, and other forms of social media, his exposure platform. And then he hopes by that time that he's garnered enough attention or he's created enough fuss around it, or whatever the subject is, to where Adam 22, no jumper will pick it up, and then the City Nashes and the all the other ass niggas will pick it up, and then hopefully he can get to the top of the totem pole, which is academics. We knew that's what his plan was, and we wasn't going for that shit. So what T did, right? T called me on FaceTime with academics, and he told me to explain everything that because I've been doing extensive research. First of all, I know the shit that he said about T with that police report. I knew that shit was fake. So what I did was he asked me to kind of break it down and explain it to academics, right? So that's what I did. I sat down, we was on the phone for like 2 hours, and I was explaining to academics how the initial piece of paperwork that he put out there, the police investigation report, how that was fake. So I broke it down, the document, how it was structurally wrong, how the word in it, and how everything, all the so-called substance of the document was wrong. When I pointed out to academics, he said, "Yeah, I can see how that shit's not true." And then he said that he even had to look it up, and then he didn't find no record of it. And then we asked him, "Well, what did he send you?" Because he said that he had 3 pieces of paper, a 3-page document that he had sent you page number 1, proving that he was a rat. So we asked him, "Well, what did he send you?" So he sent it to me and T right there on the spot. It was an appeal document. So when I started reading through this shit on my phone, I'm like, academics, this is an appeal document. How in the fuck can we be at the level of appeal when baby shooter ain't been indicted, hasn't been arraigned, hasn't been tried, hasn't been found guilty by either a jury or a judge? So how in the fuck do we get to an appeal process yet? That don't make no sense. He ain't been found guilty. He ain't even been charged with this shit. So he sent you an appeal document about the case. You don't get to appeal unless there's been a finding of guilt. So we pointed that out. So he's like, yeah, you're right about that shit. I believe he knew he was right all along. I believe that he knew the shit was fake all along, but he didn't want to come out and say it. He wanted to get somebody else to come out and say it. The dream would have been to have T on there so he can pop Wack in and Wack and T can go back and forth. That would have been content because of who Tee Grizzley is. But we didn't get that. I popped out. And so Act called him first. He had another fake ass phone call come in. Then Act called me, and I said what I had to say. And then Wack came on, and what you saw between me and him is history. I'm the first motherfucker ever shut that bitch down, and it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard because he was lying. He knew he was lying, but he couldn't believe that I was that articulate and being able to break down his lies. So he went into what he always goes into, going back and forth. I wasn't finna wait on him to get up on me. So that's why off bail, he was a bitch ass off bail. I wasn't finna wait for him because I didn't have 4 or 5 different online debates with Wack 100, and it always goes right into the shouting, screaming, and shit like that. So much so to we can't even get into whether the shit he's saying is true or not, right? So what I did was I'm glad that academics gave me the opportunity to really express and break down how fake that shit was. And then when Wack came online, it was welfare. It's welfare that little shit. He was up. I already expressed my point to the point to where he got frustrated. And then when I started talking about his wife, excuse me, ain't his wife, the R&B chick. When I started talking about her, that threw him all off. So one thing that people know is based on my conversation with Wack 100 on Akademiks platform is that he's sensitive about R&B. I showed the whole world he's sensitive about that. Once a motherfucker Pete with your sensitive spot is, oh, every time we talk, it's gonna be fucked that all bail.
Say, was that phone call to Wack? Was that a surprise to him, or he knew the phone call was coming?
He acted like he was surprised, but I believe he knew it was coming. I believe he knew it was coming. I don't think that he knew how I was gonna come with it. You hear me? I don't believe because if you listen to the whole audio and go back and watch it, Akademiks called him first, and then he so-called took another phone call. Then he called me. I was talking to Akademiks for like 20 minutes before Wack 100 came back in. There's no way that Wack, if it was a real phone call, there's no way he would have clicked back over and not heard me and Akademiks talking or me breaking down how the shit he said about T was all fake. There's no way he didn't listen before he started talking. And you can tell by how he came back in. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I'm back now. Yeah, you knew, you've been sitting listening. But I was breaking that shit down thoroughly. He had to come in and try to stop it because I had made 4 or 5 points proving the shit he said was untrue.
Hmm. Say, bro, what does it stand today?
Where it stands today, we got $500,000. We got a $500,000 bet. Prove it's true, we give you $500,000. In the history of Wack 100's career, When have you ever heard him being challenged like this with somebody like Tee Grizzley? Me and Act did 2 or 3 live streams. Every comment, all the chat comments was whack line, whack line, whack line. Why are you allowing Wack 100 to commandeer your program, your format, your platform, and tell these lies? That's all the comments were saying. These are all Axe people. All Axe chat was challenging him and questioning him as to why he would allow Wack 100 to come on his platform and tell these lies like this. And even it was so heavy on Act back that Act had to even acknowledge that, listen, Wack, when I allow you to come on my platform and say something about somebody, it is in effect me saying the same thing because you're using my platform to call somebody a rat or to say somebody is bold business. He even had to acknowledge that shit.
And you believe also that Act don't have people on there that would challenge him, right? But then he had you on there, so.
No, so the whole thing is that Wack 100 ain't never been challenged like that. Because if you come on his platform, like I did, I went on his exposures podcast before, and that the R&B, his girl was muting my microphone when I was getting with the right? So it gave him an unfair advantage, even though it wasn't even an advantage because when I did pop back on, I was able to catch back up. But when you go on Akademiks platform, whether it's Clubhouse or whether it's his exposure podcast, he had motherfuckers working the soundboard to either lower your voice to make him sound louder than you or mute you when the points you making is just tearing his ass up.